Hello and welcome to the show, and as you can probably tell from a rather old intro, welcome to a rather special week of videos. You see, my channel turns 10 years old on the 1st of June and decided to do a kind of throwback week, if you like. I'm going to revisit some old series with kind of modern twists and yeah, kind of have some fun, hence why we're going to have some random old intros, throw it into videos and whatnot along the way. This stuff's been really good fun to film, and I hope people will enjoy it. We're going to start on, well, Forza Motorsport 7. Okay, not the most popular game, shall we say, but with one of the most long-running series, and while it has changed much over the years, the Versus the Community series was started way back in Forza Motorsport 4. And we're going to have replay cameras. I haven't edited a video like this in a bloody long time. It was interesting and strange, and I very quickly remembered what I was doing to fall back into this. But we decided to head back onto Forza Motorsport 7 and run an old-style versus the community sort of race. So, how it worked, there are 3 different races. We started with some C-Class cars, and we would head to the Silverstone National Circuit. I was using the vehicle I had lying around. We have a Chevy with, this was basically whatever C-Class car I could find that had the most speed. That was the plan with this one, because the National Circuit is basically a triangle and 3 long straights. It's helpful to have some power. Yes, there is some twiddly bits as well, which, for me, having not played on this game for quite a while, was a little bit cautious going into. We were on the outside of a bunch of muscle cars that were also quite large. A Civic and a Clio were doing some grass cutting over there. That's fine, we can get past those. And it's just the big drag race down this next straight, and you see the power of my Chevy. I think about 400 odd horsepower in this, which for the C-Class was pretty good. It doesn't weigh too much in the grand scheme of things. We have a dive up the inside of the Hockenheim Bel Air that is not quite going to have the grip to hold that one the long way round. I think it was a Chevelle is busy battling with the Charger behind. There's some 4 wide going on in all of that as the handling cars try to make up some lap speed. Thankfully, we were well clear of that, and now we're back onto another straight. We could run away. But starting from the back of the grid is always very, very difficult in this kind of thing. So you've got a lot of traffic to make your way through. But it had been a relatively good start for me. Up at the front, and things were a little bit calmer, not all that much calmer, mind. We had a King Cobra Mustang that was leading the way on that one, coming under pressure from a Camaro. The Chevy having a look to the outside. You can make this work. If you've got enough grip, you can hold it around the outside here, and you'll be on the inside for the long, long final corner. The Camaro really wanted to try and make that work, couldn't quite do it. The Carmen Gear is coming to join in this little battle, along with I think it's a Nova in 4th that had just moved up to that position. We're back onto the start-finish straight, and well, nothing really had. I say nothing. Not much had an answer to the Carmen Gear's incredible straight-line speed. Those things, the top end of that is probably not great, but its acceleration, because it is so light, is very good. Difficult to drive, those things. As you can see, as soon as we get to a corner, it's, on the sketchy side of things, shall we say. The Camaro's back to try to find a way past the Ford. We're going to go side by side into these next corners. Almost accidentally dive bombs. Does get alongside the Carmen Gear. I think the Volkswagen saw it coming through all of that. Unfortunately for the Volkswagen, it gets just slightly tangled across the nose of the Mustang, and they end up out wide. The Camaro is to the lead of the race, but that was not going to last for long, because it doesn't have the speed of the Chevy down the next straight. The Chevy can get to the inside and can kind of park it on the apex of the corner. Camaro has not quite got the grip to do all that much about it. Again, it's having a look, trying to get to that inside for the final corner. There's a little bit of a bump, but it's not quite able to do it. The Carmen Gear is back up to 3rd, as the Alpha is sliding around a little bit in the background. We'll lose that position. I was continuing to march my way forward. As I said, we came from the back, so it was always going to be a difficult one for the Chevy, and was trying to utilise my immense straight line speed. The Alfa SZ had nothing in terms of straight line. We were up to the Mustang now, we draw alongside, but the problem, of course, for me is that we do not have much grip in this car. So we try to draw alongside the Mustang, can't quite make it work. The SZ turns up with all the grip in the world compared to us two. It's 3 wide through the final corner. I'm going to get hung out wide through all of that. And I say that's okay, that was always likely to happen on this. I get so much run off a corner though, didn't quite have anywhere to go through this, trying to find a way to the inside of the SZ, sorry. Just about can get to there, but I know I'm never going to have the grip to make anything work, so kind of be a little bit careful through turn 1. We'll let the Alfa back past through this, because we know where I need to be in terms of getting an easy pass, and that's close coming off of this next corner. Again, we'll sort of zone into the back of it, won't outbrake it, don't do anything stupid into this next corner. We're going to be wary of the camper van. That thing had some serious acceleration as well in this little group, and as once we got off that corner well, just let the Chevy straight line speed do the work through here. We'll yeah, the poor Alfa is just not the circuit for the SZ. We'll breeze past that. We'll actually get past the King Cobra. This time don't have to worry about trying to outbrake it into the next corner. We can just kind of park it on the apex. And the camper van had come to join in the fun of all of this as well. And like, while all this has been going on, we were actually starting to catch up to the Alfa Romeo as well. The SZ trying to fight back. It was in for a tough race. Just, yeah, could outgrip everything, but as soon as it got to a straight, was in trouble. Further back, I mean, you can see that kind of big group battle going on up ahead. This was, well, the two muscle cars, they'd fought each other right at the start. I'd kind of stuck my way past. These actually continued to fight for basically the entire race. We had the Chevelle and Charger, very, very evenly matched vehicles. The Charger thinking about getting to the inside. Does have a fairly good run down this straight. We'll try and get the vehicle stopped, get the car turned, but it can't quite finish the move. Like, it's all very well getting alongside, but the next corner is a long corner, and you're not going to go around the outside unless you have you have to have a crazy amount of grip to get around the outside, like grip advantage, shall we say, to get around the outside of a car at that final corner, because it's such a long corner, and the Charger can't quite do it. So it's going to line up for another manoeuvre. It's trying to run down the start-finish straight, but then you're going to be put to the outside of turn 1. And the Chevelle is just quick enough that the Charger can't breeze past it in a straight line, and as soon as it gets to the turns, the Chevelle is that bit faster, the Charger out wide, and again it's still just being held in that awkward, it's just being held to the outside of every corner. We're going to go through this next, sort of halfway through Maggots and Beckett's, if you will, as we jump back to the shortened layout. The Charger's going for a cutback on all of this one. Probably not a bad idea if you can get it to work, if you can make the Chevelle defend excessively and get the run down the back straight, but it isn't, the Charger's just not quite close enough, and it's going to be a familiar story in this one. And this time around the Chevelle does defend to the inside, so it's a little bit dangerous, but the Charger just cannot carry the corner speed. Chevelle's going to come across and will block that inside line. It's some good defending from the Chevelle in this one, making it very, very difficult to pass through all of this as they come out the final corner, and it will hold on to that position. At the front, having got past the big squabbling group, the Chevy would run away a little bit in this one. I would have been curious to see what my Chevy could have done in terms of speed. I mean, not being stuck back in traffic, but I don't think I really had an answer to this car particularly. Once it got to the lead, the Carbon Gear got up to second, and the two of them were quite a long way away from the rest of the field. So, yeah, they had a relatively, I say, safe time of it. But, yeah, they got out there. I mean, it always helps when you can stay out of trouble. When you can stay in that clean air, is very, very helpful. I continued my charge through the field, trying to do what I could. I ran out of time. Basically, we'd made it up to 4th. 3rd place was the Camaro, and I was putting it under increasing pressure. It made a little mistake at the end of the straight, which is not really what it needed in all of this, because I had so much speed with the 150 sedan. But I just wasn't quite close enough. The Alfa moves very quick in the corners, but it didn't have an answer as soon as we got onto these straights. It's gone hurtling down towards the finish line. I needed another lap, pretty much, because we were right there on the bumper, but just not quite enough time for me, sadly, to get anything done in all that. It had been a good race, though. It had been a good race. Got a good drive through the field for my vehicle, as we get lots of sideways stuff after the finish. And, well, further back, the poor SZ was stuck fighting cars with an awful lot more straight line speed that wanted to try and beat, I say wanted to try and get past something in these closing stages, and it had to make the most of every little bit of corner speed that it could through all of this, because it knew as soon as it got out of these turns it was going to be in trouble. The Impala here was carrying a lot of speed towards the finish line. It goes for, I mean, there was kind of a gap. It was a very iffy kind of a gap through there, and there's some bumping, and then there's some bumping, and then there is some spinning and crashing after the finish line. Because, of course, there was... I should say all of the races here are... The actual physical game race is one lap longer than the race that we were doing, because otherwise the replay's cut off. Yes, remembered about that one on this game. So hence why we have that. The podium Stinty would take victory in this one with that Nova. Ollie would be second with the carbon gear. Good showing for those carbon gears. They're not easy to get to drive and to get working, while Liam would just cling on to that third place. So, move up to B class. Next, the Nurburgring Gp Circuit. Today had one of my favourite vehicles, actually, from Motorsport 7. The classic Mercedes. This is a good B class car. Good all round. Decent in the corners. Good acceleration. Pretty good top speed. It's not a master of any of those things. It's not ludicrously grippy or ludicrously fast, but it tends to work everywhere. Tends to be quite nice to drive, so... hence why I was going to use it. Once again, I was buried in the pack, which is not the most fun to have to try and... Well, I say that. I know I'm not going to really be able to win from this far back, but you are likely to have an exciting race at least, because you're going to have to be overtaking a lot if you want to try and get a half-decent finish. We pass the BMW heading down this next straight. I mean, it's 2 wide ahead of me, almost 3 wide as we have a look. The Solstice does stay out wide. We're a little bit... squeezed onto the grass through all of that. Can't quite make it work. Again, everyone gets sort of stacked up through here. The Fiat gets a good run, passes me initially. We're going to go and swarm past the Solstice on the run down to the hairpin. Just didn't have the speed of these cars. We're now to the outside of a Subaru. It's a long way around at the hairpin out here. Try my best to make something work in the Mercedes. If you can hold it there, you can get a good run off the corner, and I knew my car had good acceleration up towards the S's, and sure enough, that would be enough to clear the Subaru. The Fiat's following me as well, and you can do this at the start of the race. If you sort of latch onto the back of a car that is carving its way up through the field, it will leave the door open for you. Opportunities like that, it'll leave the door open for you, and you can make up some positions as well at the front. And we had 3 vehicles kind of trying to make a little bit of a breakaway going on here. The Volvo led the way from the Ferrari and Lamborghini Miura in third. The Ferrari had lots and lots and lots of top end. Very, very quick car. Didn't quite have the grip through these twisty bits. The Lamborghini was looking... I think the Volvo also had a lot of speed. Not quite the same grip as the... more classic vehicles down here. The Miura was having that infuriating time of it would be quick through the corners, it would catch up to the back of the Ferrari, and then they'd get to a straight and the Ferrari would run away. There's not such sort of vast difference, and we can see how much more speed the Lamborghini can get off the corner as a Holden gets very sideways across the curve in the background. Yep, that's not really what you want over there. The Tirana with much straight line speed, but a complete handful. The Miura just was struggling to get into the right place to make an overtake stick, because as soon as it could try and get close enough, the Ferrari would just run away when it got to a straight. We've seen these battles time and time again. It's what often happens with these more open classes with Forza. We get it in Horizon 4, to be honest with you. It is just that forever battle of power versus grip, and see the Miura really close coming onto this back straight. This is a good opportunity for the Lamborghini. It's just too far back. The Ferrari is good enough through the corners, good enough under brakes that you can't have that huge dive into the rather tight chicane. Yeah, it gets a good run off the corner, but the Ferrari's going to be too far into the distance by the time we get to the last corner, to this sort of long sweeping turn, and yeah, just not able to do it. I was, again, on that climb my way up through the field, sort of a mission, come up to the back of the Holden Ute that was quick occasionally and very difficult to drive all the time. I ended up... I was braking roughly where I would normally through there, just got caught out by the Holden and had to kind of panic and bail a little bit, which almost put me in trouble from the Fiat. It's one of the difficult bits when you're in a bigger group. Like, I want to go out all out attack. I want to be trying to make my way past the vehicles ahead as quickly as possible, but if you do that and you just slightly misjudge an overtake, you lose a little bit of time, and then the car behind's going to go past. So you've got to kind of pick and choose your moments. I very nearly screwed that one up as we come down into the chicane. Again, I was able to brake quite a lot later, got caught out. The Holden got itself in trouble across the chicane and couldn't quite get the change of direction right. We gave the Volvo a little bump into the chicane. It came out the other side though, still with the position. It runs wide into the final corner, and sure enough, that is the opportunity I need, and the Fiat was doing pretty much what I said. The Fiat was latched to the back of the Mercedes, and every time I opened the door, the 124 would try and make it through. Unfortunately for the Fiat, while I managed to escape down the start-finish straight, the Holden and Volvo were quicker than it, and all that hard work was going to come undone a little bit. We could run in clean air, although I nearly threw it away at turn 1, having gone too late on the brakes, running out wide. Just about got away with that one. The battle at the front continued on for quite a number of laps, actually. Up here, the Volvo led, the Ferrari was sat in second, with the Miura still looking for a way past. The HSV had got up into fourth, and that was gradually catching these, especially as they were fighting each other rather hard. It was a big slide from the 250 that would, in the end, would be its downfall. It just put too much power down, and when you're kind of defending in the manner the Ferrari was, that one little mistake is going to be, or could be, quite costly. It's trying to fight back down the next straight, of course. It has got that straight line speed. It's to the outside, is trying to be late on the brakes, but if you're not got the handling car, you're not going to go around the outside there. It's well defended from the Miura, and again, it's going to defend through this next turn. And the Miura can get down to the hairpin. That was the important bit for it. It couldn't let the Ferrari get back past immediately, and sure enough, the Ferrari is having a look to the inside, but it just can't brake late enough. It hasn't quite got the brakes to make that one work. The Lamborghini can carry the speed through the corner and is now kind of released from traffic a little bit. The Ferrari has to start worrying about the HSV that is not all that far behind as they climb up through the hills. As I ran away from this group, they would start fighting one another, which would help me in terms of running away and not really be in trouble anymore. The Vega, I think the Vega clipped the tyre bundle and ended up dropping back into what was now a rather busy section of vehicles with 3 wide into the final turn. The Volvo trying to make it 4 wide. It doesn't fit that many cars through that corner, I can tell you that much. The Holden on the outside, trying to use its straight line speed. The BMW, also with some half-decent straight-line speed down to here, is going to have a look at turn 1. It's always difficult getting a pass right into the first corner, though. Very easy to miss your brakes or brake too early. The Vega's having a look through the middle. The Volvo's going to get stuck out wide. BMW gives a little, just the tiniest of taps to the back of the Holden as we head through the next corner. The Vega's got the grip of this group, but it's up on the curb and up on 2 wheels. It's not what you want at all through that section. Still the Chevys to the inside. BMW's out wide. That's going to give it maybe a problem from the Volvo, although you are on the inside through the next corner. Not always what you want. You can kind of swing out wide through there and carry speed like the Fiat was trying actually at that point, although the Fiat then just runs into a wall of metal as a 635 and a Volvo are busy going side by side through the next corner. The BMW can't quite hold that one through there, although the Volvo puts a win on the grass through the next part. BMW is just the wrong place at the wrong time through that section as the Fiat finds an opportunity to sneak past, and now we're trying to go 3 wide down towards the hairpin. The S2000 almost making it 4 wide. That BMW straight line speed is enough to put it up to the front of that little group, and yeah, that was a mad battle over there. I think that's for around like 7th, 8th place at this point. Back towards the front, the Volvo was continuing to hold that lead over the Lamborghini. The HSV, released from its battle with the Tirana, was up to 4th, and that would try and chase down the Ferrari. I mean, it was a similar battle to what the Ferrari had fought with the Lamborghini. The HSV with the grip, the Ferrari with the straight line speed. The HSV very brave side by side up the S's. It's such a sketchy section of track that if you get it wrong, if you run wide, there's some sticky gravel that slows your car down immensely for it being a tiny bit out of position. You don't want to end up out there. They do well to fit side by side through that. The HSV has to give it up though through this next section. Just can't quite carry the speed. And now we're on to the sort of, let's say, the strengths of that Ferrari. It has got the top end down here. Now, it's a good overtaking spot if you can be close enough to have a dive into the chicane, but HSV is not quite there. You can see it's just gapped a little bit too big as they bounce off of the curbs. It is a very good run though for the Australian car, still trying to find its way to the inside of the final turn, but it's not quite able to do it. The Ferrari doing a great job of defending and just putting that car in awkward places, making it very wide, making it very difficult to overtake. I mean, at the front, the Volvo pretty much led from the off in all of this. It stayed out of trouble and yeah, was able to run away once again in the lead. The Lamborghini was pretty quick. I mean, it was close for the first few laps, and once the Lambo and Ferrari started fighting, they just dropped a little bit further back, although lap time wise between them was pretty close. Yeah, the Volvo just stayed out of range, stayed out of trouble, and was able to take the victory. Second would go to that Lamborghini, and the Ferrari in the end would hold on to that third place despite a late charge from the HSV. For me, I ran out of laps. Behind that sort of top four, fifth place was the Tirana with an awful amount of straight line speed. Sixth was a Civic with a lot of grip, and I needed one more lap to really catch up to this group to have a chance to be involved in the fight. Mercedes was very quick around this circuit. I don't know whether it would have quite kept up with the top lot, but it was quick around this track. It just ran out of time. And there's the downside, the grids are set to random, and that is just the way the Forza gods work. Sometimes you can be buried in the pack, and it can be can be difficult. Sadly, it was another case of one lap too short. So the podium, Stinty would take a second victory in this one. Liam would be up to second with that Lamborghini, while Longbow would take third in the Ferrari. For our third and final race, we headed to the Hockenheim circuit with some A-class cars. I was not quite so far buried in the pack this time around. Turn 1 proved to be interesting, with plenty of cars running a little bit wide. We'd forgotten about how nasty the inside curb was through Turn 1. It kind of launches you up onto two wheels a lot and throws cars away. There was some interesting interpretations of track limits, shall we say, through a bit like the NASCAR at COTA. But no one really got massive advantages, mostly because we were all confused and often get spat out wide in there. Regardless, it was a fairly clean start actually, all things considered. The hairpin is always a sketchy bit. There is no doubt about that one. The Alfa Romeo we're following here, losing out a little bit on the straight line speed run down to here. Trying to get the braking right for this corner is tricky. The BMW is a little bit wide. Everyone else was relatively well behaved. I might have got a little bit late on the brakes and pushed into the door of a Holden. Nothing major went wrong though. I will say that much. Nothing major went wrong through there. Only some light bumping. Heading up towards this next section, the Alfa's busy having a look. Thought back around the outside, can't do it. Cuts back to the inside for the exit, trying to get past that Pontiac, and does get the move done. It's now to the inside of the BMW, the Alfa with lots and lots of grip. This is now coming to the section that it likes. It might not have the straight line speed for the cars around it, but it does have the grip as you head through this very, very fast right hand. Incredibly difficult corner, that one. It's horrible going side by side through there as well. You do not want to run wide. You put a wheel in the gravel, you're done for. In the end, the Alfa does get the pass done. It's a great move from the SZ to move up to the lead of the race. And would now try and we'll get away from the rest of the field. Further back, I mean, it continued to be a busy one. This one, shall we say, the big Dodge, while Skyline gets spat out across the grass, gets away with that one through there. The big Dodge with plenty of straight line speed, as you would imagine, comes hurtling down towards that hairpin, passes the Porsche, is now to the outside of that Skyline. There's a long way around the outside. You can do it at the hairpin, but it is a long, long way to go. The Dodge gives some, it tries to give as much space as possible. The Skyline, which is better under brakes, more grip, can turn the car into that hairpin, while I'm sliding around with an Alfa Montreal that was... It was a brave choice. It was a wobbly car, shall we? I think my Alfa was more wobbly than the Dodge that the camera is following at the moment, and a little bit more erratic. They're busy fighting away up in front as well. The Holden was catching up to this little battle as well, as was a Porsche. The Porsche got past the Firebird up ahead. The Skyline's trying to hold on to the position. Runs a little bit slow on the exit there, but I mean, do you really want to throw the Coronet up the inside through this next really nasty corner? Probably not. It's not really the corner you're going to make a pass at the Coronet. And another 911 in this group is close as well as we head down towards the hairpin. Skyline defends through here, and there's no room for the big Dodge. As I said before, you've got to be really careful though. If you go all-out attack when you're in a group like this, you run the risk of losing one or two places to the cars behind you if you make a little mistake. This was further back. We have got, I think it was an M2 that we were following, a Mustang Julia that had issues on lap 1, going side by side through these final couple of corners. BMW, it's difficult. You can get passes done through these final couple of turns. The BMW trying it. That's not the easiest place to get overtakes done. Turn 1 is one of the most difficult places to get overtakes done, but yeah, those final couple of corners are tough, and the Mustang holds on to the position as we head through the first corner. A little bit wide from the Alfa in all of that one. Has got the speed. BMW is going to fire back to the inside into turn 2, and we'll try and retake that pass. The difficulty the BMW was having is it had the corner grip corner speed, but did not have the straight line speed. And yeah, down these long straights, you kind of lose out and then get stuck trying to make a pass for a whole lap, and you just kind of lose all of your lap time stuck behind the car that didn't quite have the grip. It's a recurring theme with Forza. This group was mad, quite frankly. I was desperately trying to be involved with it as much as I could. The top three kind of got a little bit clear in this one. But yeah, the BMW was kind of intermittently quick, but not the easiest thing in the world to drive. The Coronet was trying to find a way past the Z4. The Skyline was battling away with the Holden. The Porsche was in there. My Montreal, if I kept it together for a lap, could keep up with this group. The Dodge is now to the inside at turn 2 and would, well, it was very difficult to complete the pass, but it does get it this time around. If it can get a good run off of here, it can get out of range. The BMW, though, gets big understeer, ends up in all sorts of trouble, spat across the grass, and amazingly doesn't collect anybody as it comes across the track, fighting for control in all of that one, but will then lose out to the Skyline and drop into the manic group that continues to be as manic as expected. Yes, that was the Porsche on the grass. They were 3 wide pretty much up ahead. The Porsche out a little bit wide. I was going to use this as an opportunity for me to try and make something happen with the dangerous Alfa Romeo, basically. It was, yeah, very quick, but very sort of intermittently fast. The BMW didn't realise I was alongside. A little bit of a squeeze, but we'd try and make something work in all of this. Had good straight line speed with the Alfa. It was just fiddly in the corners. I can't think of a better way to describe it, really, side by side. Again, the BMW being side by side about 3 times, I think, through that corner. There was a little bit of leaning, but no one was pushed onto the gravel, and that's the bit that matters. I couldn't, unfortunately, complete the move like the SZ had done on the opening lap, so we're going to be stuck going side by side through this final sequence of corners. Tried to use my acceleration as much as I could through here. We would get the pass into the penultimate corner, but I couldn't get my car stopped. We end up out wide, and we would kind of lose out to the Z4. Somehow got a great run off of the turn, and then managed to put my wheel across the AstroTurf and almost spun my car trying to put the power down. That was, that was the difficulty with this. I turned in a smidge too soon into the first corner. I think I found a different way to have trouble at turn 1 every lap so far, as had most of the vehicles around us. BMW was following me. The Z4 had a big dive into the second corner to try and retake the position. Got it briefly, I'll go for the cutback, and I will keep hold of it. I then get up onto 2 wheels across the curb, and another huge slide for the Alfa Romeo. Not what I wanted to be doing in all of that one, and that puts me under threat now as we run down the back straight. The Porsche just sort of sat watching this fight, ready to pick up the pieces when we inevitably get ourselves into trouble. Unfortunately for me, the BMW got itself to the place it wanted, while the Holden was busy fighting with that Skyline. That would get the place. I tried to get the cutback on the BMW for the exit out of the hairpin, but the Z4 covered nicely, and I'd end up stuck behind it. Up at the front, the Porsche got itself into a second place, and I mean, these two were miles clear of the rest of us. The 911 had caught to the back of the Alfa Romeo and was busy looking for a way past. As I said, through that final section, it is not the easiest. While that penultimate corner is one of my favourite spots to have a dive, it's not easy to get an overtake done. Turn 1 is even more difficult, but the Porsche was going to go for it anyway. That is such a tough corner to go too wide for. They both hit the curb and both get spat out wide on the exit of turn 1, although both using about the same amount of track. So, yeah. Is so difficult. It's such a fast corner, and when you are too wide, the car on the inside takes such a narrow line, and the car on the outside is in such danger of being swatted off the track that it is not normally the place you go for an overtake. But the Porsche made it work. It was now having to try and, let's say, hold on from the Alfa. We'd seen the Alfa get passed by everything down the straights. Neither of these two had a huge amount of straight line speed whatsoever. They were all about the grip. The SZ is to the inside, but it can't get it stopped. It just overshoots the corner. A good cutback from that 911 to retake the lead, while the Coronet had got past the Firebird for that third spot. Yeah, good textbook cutback, if you like, up at the hairpin. The Alfa had to try something at that point. For me, I was stuck in this little battle with the Z4, the 911 and everything. It'd been a great fun little race. I get a great run off of the second corner, put the BMW under some pressure, who runs wide with some understeer, clips the curb, clips the grass, and then tries to torpedo me. Nothing quite as terrifying. Like, I knew I'd given the car enough space on the outside, and then all of a sudden there's a BMW 90 degrees into my door. The curbs and grass could be mean on this one. You can see the damage on the back of my car. Yeah, curbs and grass were mean on that one. Not what the BMW was wanting to do, and that gave me a little bit of clean air for the end of the race. The Skyline, that was, well, that had all been going on. The Skyline, that was busy trying to... I mean, this battle went on for basically the entire race between these two. The Skyline was trying desperately to hold off the Holden. It has a big dive to the inside. It just gets it stopped in time, everything locked. I actually thought that it was going to shoot through there and it was going to be a cutback from the Skyline, but no, the Holden did actually get itself slowed down in all of that one. And then we head down this... long back straight. The Skyline has to again move across to cover for the hairpin. And you know, when you're driving like this, you lose a lot of time to the cars ahead. You can see the size of the gap to the vehicles ahead. The Holden's looking for that long way round. It's going to try and make it work. It can't. The Skyline parks it on the apex. There's a little bit of a wiggle from the Nissan as it puts its power down. When you are defending like this, you have to not make any mistakes. You can't afford to get a big slide. You can't miss a braking point, because the second you do, the car behind is going to be passed and you're going to struggle to do much about it. Again, Nissan defends through the next corner. Holden's looking for any which way it can go. It's trying to get a cutback working, but then you end up on the outside through this next corner, which is not really where you want to be. A little bit more moving around, sliding around from the Skyline. The Holden's still trying to find a way to the outside. If you can hold it to the outside through here, you'll be on the inside for the hairpin, but the Holden doesn't quite have the grip. And of course, the more they're fighting like that, the Porsche has caught them in like half a lap. Porsche joins this little battle because, yeah, they are just stuck fighting nose to tail. No one's really going all that quickly, but the Holden just ran out of laps. It was just run out of time. It's still busy looking, but it couldn't do anything about the Skyline through all of that. Up at the front, well, once the Porsche had got to the lead of the race, it would stay there. It wasn't the biggest margin of victory. In fact, it was probably the smallest margin of victory for the races we had during all of this. Yeah, both fairly similar cars in terms of where they got their speed. The Porsche just that little bit faster. They were well clear of the rest of the pack, not helped by our huge battles. You know, that is how it goes. If you can run in that clean air, you can see third place just coming around that final corner. That would be the Coronet, I believe, was running in that third place, and more liberal use of track limits at the end from the SZ. But yeah, it'd been a good race. It'd been a good race for. I said I'd enjoyed it. I'd been terrified in the Montreal, but overall had been quite good fun. The podium, Stinty wouldn't get a lockout of races. Would have to end up for second. Ollie would take victory with that Porsche, while Longbow would get a third with the Montreal. So yeah, this had been pretty damn good fun, I have to say, going back to some of the old circuit racing. I will say before we go, so as I said at the start, with the way the replays work, we have to have a little portion at the end, like have a cool down lap basically, to make sure the replay's safe. And often that does descend into some messing around. Sometimes you end up, everyone just races to the line, sometimes you mess around. For me, at the first race, the camper van had turned up, and we were just doing our thing, messing around with the vehicles. Camper van gets a big slide, and I noticed something. As it came across the curb, it got onto two wheels. So I decided to help it. We hadn't had a roll, so I decided to... I couldn't pass up the opportunity there. There was no way I was going to pass up the opportunity of a camper van on its side. Something needed to fall over. If we're doing a 10 years of fail race, something had to fall over. And sure enough, the camper van gave a perfect opportunity to be fallen over. So... yeah, it was a competitive lap, but it was fun going back to Forza 7, doing some circuit racing. I do look forward to the next motorsport game, whenever we may end up getting that one. It is a shame YouTube hates Forza 7 with a passion, but there we go. Yeah, we had some really good fun racing, messing around, and it was kind of fun, strange almost for me going back and like editing videos in this fashion. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're excited. You're looking forward to what we have in store for you this week. All sorts of stuff is going to be released. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Some of you will remember. Some of the newer subscribers will have no idea what some of this stuff is. But that is half the fun of this. That is half the fun of this. That is going to be it from me, though. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.